Welcome to the Medical Portal LLC Investor Meeting presentation. Rather than demonstrate the product through presentation, I'm going to actually have everybody use the product and get a feel for it themselves. By now you should have already created a profile and joined the NC Medical Portal Investors Club and joined the investor meeting and reviewed the PowerPoint video and articles as we speak. Feel free to pause this presentation and ask questions at any time. One of the patented features of the software is that you can ask questions and they will be inserted into the part of the presentation that your question or comment is relevant to, so that other people, if they don't understand your question or comment, can see a portion of the video relevant to your question or comment. And feel free to follow, like, comment, or even request a co-author in this collection. And after you've completed the video, feel free to jump on and do a live video conference with other members at the presentation. So again, at this point you've probably created your profile. Feel free to search and join other organizations. Search and interact with colleagues. This can be done through live messaging, through live video, or other types of messaging that go through email. Look at the NC Med Portal Now, which is a news feed importing various social media, but only from pre-approved sources. Also, feel free to publish your own article or video at this point, and allow other people to come in and co-author and actually do some collaboration. You can also search for other content, like, follow, comment, or co-author, anything you please. This is just a demo portal, so feel free to do what you like with it. Once you have a good feel for the software, I'd like to go over the selling points, starting with the user, which in this case are our clinicians. The advantages of using this portal is that they can network with other clinicians and build reputation. Through that interaction, they can earn CME through conference extension, fully virtual conferences, or even just collaborating on articles and other types of media. I feel that this product will also enhance student-teacher relationships as well as potential employer relationships. The model utilizes a matrix model instead of a top-to-bottom interactions. So as a student, you can collaborate with other students and teachers and share information and go back and forth and co-author things. And same thing with presenters and employees, employers, and so forth. The fact that you can save these all and keep track of what you've done allows you then to give that to other people, whether it's an employer looking to see what you've been doing out in the world, or a teacher trying to guide learning. The selling point of the associations, one is conference enhancement. Imagine a 60 CME weekend course now worth 120 CMEs through an extra hour of conference extension for weeks after the conference has already been completed. For the associations, because we're going after multiple associations and also marketing directly to clinicians, we should have a lot of members in the space, and these associations will have visibility in those spaces. In addition, we'll allow associations who partner with us to have ad space, maybe for their next conference or just for their organization in general. They will have their Twitter, Facebook information streamed into our news feed. and we may be able to create some joining incentives for users to join their organization. In addition, most professional associations do elections, surveys, dues. All of these things use different tools and often cost them money. We can offer all these tools in one place, our portal, and we can offer it for free. Selling points to the vendors. Right now, most pharmaceutical medical device companies spend a lot of money on marketing, in particular product detail. Those marketing reps have limited access in that there's only so many product details they can do in a day. They tend to be costly, and they don't always get access to the providers that they want. Because of the Sunshine Act, many hospital systems and other healthcare organizations are not allowing sales reps to do lunches or dinners anymore. So in addition to access, which in this case will be through clinical liaisons, hopefully giving more clinicians work, and we're not going to allow sales reps into the portal, just medical professionals, which may or may not work for some of the vendors. We also can provide demographic reports to show essentially all the targeted users that they would have access to. We can prove that our users are actually using it. In addition, we can track their own liaisons and show that their liaisons are doing the work, and we can also show how much interaction they are spurring through their product detailing and interaction. So the business strategy is fairly simple as far as what we want to achieve. One is to enroll users. We enroll users primarily by going to the associations and partnering with them and getting access to all of their members. We need to get the users to actually use the product. There's been many products out there that have enrolled clinicians and never got people to actually use it. And without them using it, it really has limited value. So we want to get them to use it. And once we've done that, we should have no problem getting vendors who want access to this portal, and that's what's going to make it profitable. And there's some secondary revenue streams that can be realized as well, which I'll talk about later on. So how we're going to achieve those keys of success, basically we're going to go to the associations, offer them the product for free. In exchange, they have to allow us to integrate with their conferences. We're going to engage users through the conferences, as well as independent publications, virtual conferences, so forth. We're going to promote category CME2 among our users, in addition to the other selling points that I described earlier. We'll then approach vendors and offer them access for a fee. The vendors and associations and users will eventually self-perpetuate activity. At first, we may have some paid medical engagement specialists publishing articles and stimulating interaction. But eventually the vendors will be putting out information, associations will be putting out association business, and the users themselves will be networking and interacting with each other, and it will become self-perpetuating once it gets to a certain point. We can also offer Category 1 CME through independent vendors. There's all kinds of ways to get Category 1 CME other than conferences, but sometimes it's kind of tricky to locate that CME. You got to subscribe to journals, you got to do web searches. We can approach all these CME vendors and allow them advertising or access into our portal for a fee. We can continue to refine the product. The main one are the association tools. We really want to customize those tools to the association's liking. And we really want to work on our CME tracking. We want it to be as automated as possible for CME reporting. We really want to prove our tracking algorithms so that eventually we can take these to governing bodies who approve CME. And ultimately, we'll maybe create a new type of Category 1 CME that's collaborative. So let's go over the timeline as it stands right now. In August, we're going to be completing the software touches, which mostly is making it tablet and smartphone friendly. There's a few changes to the design that we're going to implement, not too much, and we're going to add tags in the profile creation so that users must identify their medical specialty, license type, and so forth. That's important both for reporting, for allowing access into certain organizations, and in general just interaction between our users. And lastly, from a legal standpoint, there's some things we can hold off on, but if we take investors, we need to have a solid operating agreement. We need to have a license agreement with the software company, and we need to have a user agreement for each user who comes into the portal. And that's very important because we need to control who's allowed to solicit. That's how we will get money from the vendors, by only allowing solicitation for a fee. September, October, we're going to be doing some soft launches. 2 of them are already scheduled. In September, we're going to be doing a Physician Assistant Association meeting. That's our MAPA group. And then we're also going to be doing one of the meetings for the Independent Docs Association. And those will be with the actual viable software product and bring on real users and real organizations. We'll also have some paid engagement specialists at those meetings or interacting through the portal to make sure that we show the usefulness of the conference extension, the fact that people will use it. Sometime in October, we're hoping to do 2 weekend conferences. I'll talk about those at a later date as they become closer to fruition. We also will start approaching both the associations and the vendors. We want to set up a time to schedule with them before the end of the year. We can actually show them our soft launches and show them how everything works. I don't anticipate the vendors paying until we actually have a lot of users, but we want them aware so that once we have the users, we don't have a lag time between our costs going up from operating and when we start receiving revenue from the vendors. And by the end of the year, we also want to work on some upgrades to the portal. Right now, all of our CME tracking is kind of self-reported, and we want to have like an automated system, which shouldn't be too difficult because it's just building on the tools that are already in this software service. November, December, again, we'll continue to build content. Maybe ideally, we'd like to show that our conference extend beyond a day or a week, that the topics discussed will keep going for weeks or months on end. We want to complete the automated CME tracking. We want to demonstrate the product to the association's vendors, as I already discussed, and we'll probably start to have to build a team for 2017 that will go into the larger conferences and help recruit users. Throughout 2017, at this point, I'm hoping we have several small associations on board and maybe one state association. We're now bringing on staff. Some of these staff will be interns. We already actually have a pool of interns willing to work for free. We may just need 1 or 2 paid people to go to the conferences and manage them. We're going to begin recruiting users via the conferences, and we'll continue to recruit more associations and more vendors. Right now, the tools for the election surveys and dues payments are pretty rudimentary, and to me it doesn't make sense to refine that until we've got the associations on board and we can use their feedback to build the tools the way that they want them, because ultimately they are the customer and we want to make them happy. We'll continue to develop CME tracking, improve algorithms, Again, long term, a major goal is to try to recategorize the way we do some CME and become more collaborative and conference extending than a top to bottom model. So 2018 and beyond, we'll continue to build users and product within the state. At some point in time when we have a working state model, we'll begin to approach associations on a national level. We could go to state, and maybe we will approach a few other state associations, but it would be much more cost effective to jump right from the state to the national level, who will then disseminate that to all their state associations below them. We want to build interest and lobby for collaborative learning, CME. Again, I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have this as part of the model, but it would really create a huge increase in usage and make this portal basically the place to go for CME, Category 1 and 2. Let's talk about the potential of this product. Everybody knows that there's a lot of money in medicine. Most of that's in pharmaceutical, medical device industries. There's 15,000 clinicians in North Carolina. Nearly all of them belong to at least one association. Most of them belong to multiple. CME is a requirement, and most CME is obtained through conferences. North Carolina is only 1/30th of the national population of the United States and approximately 1/30th of the GDP for medical and pharma spending. If you think about how much money pharmaceuticals have in sales and marketing, well, first of all, the top 10 pharma companies spend $6 billion in the United States alone, mostly on product detailing. And 99% of that is done live. Some of it is virtual, but most of it's done live through lunches and dinners. They spend about $1,000 when you take into consideration all the costs per lunch and other types of product detailing that they do. Per rep, which can only cover a territory of several hundred doctors if they need to see them several times a month, they spend about $200,000 to $500,000 per sales rep. So think about that, the sales rep's salary, their spending budget, their vehicle, and so forth. If they were to hire one clinical liaison and pay for portal access, one clinical liaison for the same cost as one pharmaceutical rep cover a much larger territory, target the physicians that they want to, and get around a lot of the barriers that are being created by hospital systems and organizations that don't want to have their names listed due to the Sunshine Act. In addition, the CME industry itself is highly profitable. There's plenty of CME vendors. If we made this the go-to place for CME, where you could look up conferences and organizations, journals, online learning tools, we could offer access to those private CME vendors for a fee as well. MedPortal is also working on negotiating a non-compete with Breezio so that they will not market to pharmaceutical companies, certain types of medical research organizations, and so forth, since all of our clinicians will already access and had a taste of this, and they're also involved with these other organizations. I feel we could begin to sell different versions of the software to those organizations as well. I don't want to be the one to create those, but if we have a non-compete, we could get a sales fee or a royalty fee for every other organization that picks up a version of the software. So let's talk about the investment opportunity. I don't actually need $400,000 to launch this product. I could probably do it with $20,000 or $40,000. If we're successful, however, costs go up. The cost to run the company is based mostly on our success. That being said, my biggest fear is we get a state association on board and I don't have the resources to create good customer service for them and we lose them. So we have to be prepared for growth. Right now I'm offering 40 shares at $10,000 a piece, and I value the company at $5 million, which means a $10,000 buy-in would be 0.002% of the company, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm going to show the projections and the potential of this product. The $5 million valuation was based on probability. There's a chance it could fail completely and be worthless. There's a chance that it will be worth $5 million. There's a chance it could be worth $150 to $300 million. Some of the shares will be offered as sweat equity, other ones as cash. Again, for the ones offered as cash, I don't even need all the money up front, and if it does fail, most likely we will not have spent $400,000 on development. Once we go national, we may need to have a little bump in investment, and I may allow current investors to reinvest, maybe even just by holding their distributions. So here are some financial projections. 1,000 users is really if we just get one state association on board. And we're already pretty far with the State Physician Assistant Association. There's 5,000 users in that. In fact, they have 1,000 users, 1,000 clinicians show up just for their summer conference alone. They allow us access to that, and we get most or all of them on it, and retain maybe a third to half those users. Then we're already halfway to that $5 million valuation. As you can see, the profit would be about $1 million a year, which means in 5 years you'd get your money back, and then pure profit from then on. Once we have 2, maybe 3 of the state associations on board, we should have about 5,000 users, probably within 6 to 12 months. That's where I'm hoping to be by the end of 2017. Now the company is worth about $25 million, and your distribution every year is what you put in. So you could get that money back in theory by the end of 2017. The 10,000 user I don't necessarily see happening. That's where we get a high percentage of all users for each state association on board. More likely we'll jump to the 30,000, which is when we would go national. Again, the profit doesn't seem to rise when we jump up, and there may be a lag between when the vendors agree to pay and our costs of going national. So that's when we may bring on more investors. Or have to hold distributions. We'll see. Most likely where we want to be, and what's I think very realistic, is to have the national associations on in a few years, 150,000 users. And again, you start looking at the profits per year in distribution, it's like winning the lottery at that point. And I haven't even gone over the secondary revenue streams that are possible. So in order for take on investors, by now you've already signed the non-disclosure. For sake of simplicity with the IRS and Securities Commission, I'd like everybody to be a resident of North Carolina, and of course no legal conflicts. If you are represented by any of our firms that represent MedPortal LLC, you just need to let me know and we'll resolve those. All my investors, I'm asking for a minimum of $10,000. Some of that can be cash, or it can be sweat equity, or it could be a combination. And here I have the next 6 months, but I really need that by the end of this year, by the end of 2016. Most of the investors will be medical professionals, mostly ones who have some clinical expertise, or at least zealous about writing so they can participate in the portal. are on boards or associations, it can help lure those in. I'm also bringing in some people with medical sales, both inside and outside, in the pharmaceutical and other um, medical sales areas. We bring on some IT people, maybe even legal people as investors, and mostly just, again, we get free advice and discounted services. Um, so it's not just about the money for me. It's about having strategic partners and good advisors. We don't necessarily need investors with a high net worth. It just makes it easier as far as writing the operating agreement and some of the IRS and Securities Commission's requirements. I believe that's the end of the talk here.